Guys, before we get into this guy right here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like and favorite this video. Now let's get into it. What's up guys, Brandon here from Gearist. Today we're going to be getting on board with the Elite RD4 from Izumi. I'm just going to put this out there right from the beginning so we're all on the same page. Cycling shoes are expensive. Now sure, you could do some shopping around, find last year's model or something like that for a pretty decent price, or something that's just not a really great shoe for a pretty decent price. But as you go up in cycling shoes into the quality and the bells and whistles and the features and all that stuff, it is not uncommon to pay $250 plus for an elite level cycling shoe. However, Izumi has made a specific goal with this shoe to bring all those bells and whistles, to bring all the things that they wanted to bring into an elite level cycling shoe, pro level cycling shoe, into an elite level cycling shoe. And they have managed to do that with aplomb with this shoe right here, the Elite RD4. So now let's take a little bit of a closer look at this guy. Starting with the sole unit of this guy, as we do with all of our shoes, Izumi has used their one-to-one power plate. Now the first place you're going to be able to see this is in these ridges, these rails right here that run laterally or vertically or longitudinally, run this way, sagittal plane down the shoe. These are going to be one of the things that are going to add a lot of rigidity to this. And if you know anything about cycling shoes, rigidity is what makes power transfer from the leg to the foot to the pedal to the bike. Those are combined with the concavity or the concave shape of the interior of this shoe, which again is going to allow for only 7 millimeters of stack height while still having a super rigid unidirectional carbon fiber sole unit that's going to make this a very, very power transferring shoe. The unidirectional carbon used in these guys is almost exactly the same as Izumi uses in its flagship shoe, the PRO, the Pro Leader 2. And in fact, this guy right here is only 30 grams lighter. Now, if you're wondering, if you're an American like me and don't really know grams that well, 30 grams equates to 1.06 ounces. So this, for $200 as opposed to the very much higher price tag of the Pro Leader 2, is 1.06 ounces heavier than the flagship shoe of the company. Embedded in this carbon outsole right here, as you can see here, 1, 2, and 3 mesh covered vents, which are going to keep that debris out, but when it gets warm, those are going to kick up into the shoe and allow for a lot of airflow. We're going to touch about the other places the airflow comes on this shoe in a second. These also do a good job of, if the weather kicks up and you get some rain coming down, they're going to not allow water to really pool in your shoe, because they're going to be great drain holes. And unlike in a running shoe where they're not able to be super big vents, these are plenty big to allow that water to kind of spill out of there with no problems. Also because you're not stepping on anything, like the ground. The upper of this is where a lot of the comfort of this shoe shows up. There's really no stitching pretty much at all. There's maybe a little stitching around this buckle here, but that's really it. No stitching of any consequence. These are all bonded overlays and bonded support structure, fully bonded upper, just seamless, and it's got a very, very sleek line. This also means that there are no stitches to cause hot spots or anything like that on the interior of the shoe either. Across the front of the shoe right here, there are 9 vents, which work in concert with those vents on the bottom of the shoe that I mentioned earlier, creating a nice cross flow through and over the toes and all this kind of stuff, keeping you very comfortable, even on hot. The first place where tension shows up in this shoe is this guy right here. This hook and loop enclosure, which I like to kind of keep a little bit loose, but if you really want to hammer down and tighten that bad boy down, believe me, there's plenty of room to do that also. But the big kicker to this guy, the thing that a lot of people are going to look for, is this BOA closure that you can see right here. BOA technology, if you're not familiar with it, is basically a ratcheting lacing system facilitated by use of a cable. Now that cable in this case weaves across the top of the shoe, much like a normal shoelace would. Now what's great about this is that it has even distribution of the pressure across the top of your foot, because it cinches down all across instead of just one band over the top or one band over the middle or the bottom or something like that. To use it, in case you're a monkey or have been living under a rock for the past 10 years, all you do is push that button in there and kind of tighten it down just like that. Then to let it go, you pull this guy up and it loosens up right away just by pulling on it. Now BOA does have a couple different systems that they use, one where you dial it each way, but in this case, it's a snap down and twist, the snap and twist. This is really good for on on-the-fly, single-hand adjustment of the shoe. There's no need to sit down there and fiddle with it a whole bunch. You can just simply twist it down. If you need a little bit looser, which every now and then I need a little bit looser, I just pop it up. My foot tends to just push the laces right to where they want to be, and then I lock it right back down. Really, really great on-the-fly micro adjustments. The padding under the tongue right here and then around back here on the heel counter is excellent. Up here, it keeps the boa from really kind of cutting into your foot at all. This is a really densely padded tongue, but it's not super thick or anything like that, and also not very heavy. Around the heel counter, it's very, very stiff. You've got a lot of action in there where you can really put the screws to it, really torque on the shoe, and it's not going to fail you. It's going to keep a lot of structural rigidity around the rear of the foot, which is going to keep, even if you've got some float in your pedals, float in your cleats, it's going to keep you nicely in place and still transferring power right to the shoe, then to the bike. Also in the shoe are some heel and toe bumpers. This toe bumper you can see right there, nice little rubber toe bumper, and then back here some rubber heel bumper back here, and this is actually replaceable, which is really good. This is not replaceable for this guy. There are screws inside here under the sock liner, and let's talk about the sock liner, which is this piece of EVA foam, reinforced EVA foam, and you can see here that it is perforated. Maybe you can see that it's perforated there. Perforated to, again, allow those vents, which are here in the bottom of the shoe, which I don't think you can see from the inside. Maybe you can. Those vents in the bottom of the shoe to pass air through, in and around and over the foot and all that kind of stuff. But how did this shoe perform? Well, if you've watched any of our reviews before, you know that one of the things that I really like is when a product does its job so well that it kind of just, well, I mean, it just disappears on your foot. You're not like, oh, there's a shoe on my foot and it's working. You just don't notice it because it sits there, does its thing, and that's that. I found that with this guy, the Elite RD4 from Pearl Izumi, that was definitely the case. First, the sole of this shoe is super, super stiff. Now, in the past, Pearl has had some complaints, a little bit of give, a little bit of flex in some of their shoes. This is something that is not apparent at all in this. Now, I'm not some super featherweight cyclist guy. I mean, I'm a pretty big person, and when I really gotta hammer down on the pedals, especially if I'm torquing because my technique is less than spectacular, I'm really putting the screws to this thing, and it didn't flex at all. That transfer is super, super evident from the get-go. Also, your foot sitting down in the concavity of the sole plate here is really nice because it creates kind of a cradle, a bed almost, for this to sit in, for your foot to sit in while inside the shoe. So there's no kind of inconsistency with any side-to-side movement or anything like that. Of course, this does mean that finding the right fit for your foot can be tricky, so definitely give yourself some to try these on, and if you need to return them to get the just right fit for you. Now, the upper of this guy, I love the upper of this shoe. First, the look is nice and sleek, this kind of monochromatic all black. We've got matte, it's hard to see in this light, but we've got matte in some places, and then a little more shiny up in other places. It's just very sleek and elegant looking. There's a black and white version, which also is just a really great looking shoe. Not that that matters. The fully bonded materials of this did a great job of cradling my foot, and I never got a hot spot, which is a big deal for me because who wants to be on a 4-hour ride when all of a sudden you've got this spot that just is hot? I mean, just is uncomfortable. That never happened in this shoe. As to the boa, I'm very familiar with boa. Whether it's in hiking shoes or snowboard boots or running shoes or even bike shoes, I've used it a lot. And one thing that I noticed about it in this shoe is that when I would start out, within the first probably hour, maybe half hour, my foot would get a little bit numb. And now what I credit that to is the fact that when you put this on, or when I put this on anyway, and tightened it down to where I thought it was ready to go when just kind of sitting there on the steps putting the shoes on, I tended to tighten it down too much. Now, this didn't result when I needed to loosen it a little bit in any sort of looseness. It was actually this false sense of needing to tighten it down that much in my head. After I got that going and I really figured out that I didn't have to go down that much, it was very, very nice and easy to get it right where I wanted to. And to get it to that spot that I wanted to, the easiest way, as I mentioned before, was just to be on the bike for about 5 minutes so I could feel my foot really settling in there, and then just lift up and push down, and I was right where I wanted to. Honestly, this shoe fits so well, the upper does, you could probably cinch these laces all the way out like that, put your foot in it and ride it with and be perfectly comfortable. Of course, you might lift out of it at some point, but it's just going to fit your foot so well. The ventilation on the shoe is also a biggie for me. I like the way that these big 9 vents across the top here combine with these 3 vents on the underside to give a lot of airflow and air circulation across your foot. Now, I will say that I rode this mainly in the summertime, so there was no chance of me really being cold. When the mercury dropped drops, it might be worth a consideration of getting some sort of a toe cap. Definitely close these guys off. But if it doesn't close this off, what you can easily do is put a little piece of plastic wrap or even aluminum foil or something to cover those vents from the inside to keep that air from coming in, because cold feet when you're riding sucks. The only thing that I'd really change about the upper to this shoe is making the area under here a little more supple. That's so that the adjustability of this strap was a little more functional. Yes, you can strap it down quite a bit, but you kind of really have to pull on it. So if this was a little bit more supple and able to slide through a little more freely, and again, I'm not the engineer here, but that would make this just kind of off the charts. I mentioned at the outset that this is a well-priced shoe, and I really haven't touched on price much. This shoe comes in at $200. Now, hold on a second. Before you go, $200? You crazy? That's an expensive shoe. Although you probably don't sound like Don Knotts. But some things to consider is what you're getting for that $200. First, this shoe is 1.06 or 30 grams lighter than their top-end flagship cycling shoe, which comes in at $270. Second, you're getting a BOA enclosure. Awesome stuff. Micro adjustability all the way up, all the way down. It's going to really be able to have a good custom fit when combined with this upper for your foot. Third, it is super comfortable. Again, get that adjustment right and you've got a shoe here that's most likely going to be something super comfortable for you on very, very long rides. Fourth, elite level carbon fiber and rigidity. This thing is super, super stiff. You cannot really bend. I mean, you might be able to feel like a vice grip in like a truck. Even if I moved the cleat all the way forward in the shoe, it didn't flex at all. It just gave fantastic power transfer right to the shoe, right to the pedal, right to the bike. And the last thing that you're getting for $200, which again, this is an amazing price, is a lifetime warranty on the shoe itself as well as BOA enclosure. Now for me, BOA Technology is right down in Denver. I can drive down there, I can have it replaced, no big deal. But these guys really stand behind their product. You are paying $200 for something, yes, but again, consider the things that you're getting for that. If you're like me and you spend a lot of time on your bike, this is something that's really gonna be a good investment for you. This is not a 1-season shoe, this is not a 2-season shoe. This is like a 5-year-long shoe, 10-year-long shoe, and then when you get a new shoe, it's only because you want a pair of new shoes, probably not because you need them. The amount of bang for your buck with this is really, really very high and very impressive. I have to say that if given the choice to spend $270 for just a couple more bells and whistles, I don't know that I would. I don't know that it's worth $70 more because this is such a solid shoe. Of course, if Pearl wants to send me those to try out, I'm certainly not going to turn them down, so ignore that last part. And before we get to the question of the day, don't forget to like and favorite this video. Now, the question for you guys is, what is your price point threshold? If you're getting so much bang for your buck, what are you willing to spend? Keeping in mind that this is not a running shoe. This is not a shoe that's going to be with you for 3 months, 6 months, a year. This is a shoe that's going to be a long-term investment. Is $200 a macroeconomic expense that you're willing to take? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you guys have any questions about this or any of our videos, whether it's a review, one of Steve's videos, Ask Gearist, whatever that is, please let us know down in the comment section below or by emailing info@gearist.com. As always, do not forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking that YouTube button right there. Please, 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 that helps support our channel and everything that we're trying to do here at Gearist. We're also starting a series called Start Here. It's where do I start? What do you do with certain things? We're going to have one coming up very soon, which is how do you deal with a mountain lion should you encounter one while out on a hike or a camping trip or a run or something like that. We're going to let you know exactly what to do. So if you guys want to hear exactly what to do from some experts in the field, let us know and we'll get one of those going for you. Now guys, also don't forget to follow us on all our social media outlets, which you can see right over here, my right, your left, and again, that button down there to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and right here our website, Gearist.com. If you've got any questions, don't forget, contact us whenever you want. We'd be happy to talk to you. Thank you guys so much for spending a few minutes with us today. We'll see you next time.